Esta noche voy a cenar pizza, pasta, tacos y sushi. ¿Cómo? ¿Viven tus 4 hijos? Deja de mimarlos, tío. Esta noche voy a cenar torta de jamón serrano y patatas bien bravas. Gracias. Gracias. Nos vas a malcriar. Eres muy duro. Tú de peluche. ¿Te cenamos? Vale.
1 millón de platillos por menos de 99. Pide ahora.
Yeah? Got it on?
Here, we have someone going, Kuromi! Hi, Merciura. She's in Wales and she's excited for Kuromi. And your cat headset.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's, the week just flew past. I mean, like, there's a lot of tension going on in our country right now, so that is less than good. But you know, that aside, I am, you know, hanging in there.
Yes, I read your post yesterday, and I wanted to start off by saying I appreciate.
Jim Brown and Joe Clark. Now, you probably can't put Joe Clark, though, Sue, because I think he's one of the other
reasons for Joe. So,
but if he's not there,
Joe probably sue you or something.
Joe and I.
All right. Yeah, that's true.
Wanted to get into acting. Part of the reason.
Us like
Yep, that was me.
I've done that. How cool!
Yeah, that was me. I was the one on the tram sitting at the very front, like being like, and to your left, you're going to see Courthouse Square, where they filmed the famous movie Back to the Future.
Oh my god!
And they also filmed, just a little, because my studio tour guide training is kicking in, also in Courthouse Square is filmed the opening scene of Gremlins with all the Christmas trees and Corey Feldman in the Christmas tree costume, all that stuff. That was me.
Yeah.
And so I had that job. And I was like, oh man, I love this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. And then even after that, it took me a couple months to be like, oh right, voice acting. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it hit me like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah.
It was as soon as I realized that this is what I was supposed to be doing, it was there wasn't a doubt in my mind. It was just I was filled with electricity. I was just sort of oh, this is my calling. And so I just started going full force.
Dude, so many people haven't found that at age 45, 65. Like that one thing that just, like you said, like this like lightning rod that just hits you. And that's amazing because to really be passionate about something and pursue it full throttle takes guts. And a lot of people just haven't found what they're so happy about to work in. And you have. So that's kind of rad.
Oh, I feel extremely fortunate. Yeah.
And it's also gutsy to say, I'm doing commercials. On camera is what a lot of people aspire to do. It's not making me happy. Let me switch courses to find what will make me happy, because we sometimes think we're supposed to be pursuing what is good or what is, you know,
like
Hollywood
norm.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So that's beautiful. So how old were you when you started when you did this Bob Briggan thing, and then like what happened from then on? Because I'm sure you were, I mean, you're really young now, but I'm sure you were even.
I am. Yeah. I was. Oh, I want to say I was probably 20 or 21 when it hit me. And was I? Oh boy, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I might have been 22. I think I was 22 at the time. I was 22, and then I just went full.
And so, what did that entail? You know, so many people here want to pursue voice acting that are watching, and like for you, because my experience was so different. Like I knew I wanted to act since I was really young, and I went to college for theater, and then so like once you figured this out, how did you find auditions? Like what happened?
So Bob was very gracious, and after our workshop he gave us his email and was like, hey, if you guys ever have like demos that you want me to like vet or anything like that, just like send them my way. And so as like literally the same night that I realized that this was what I was supposed to be doing, I emailed Bob and was like, this is what I want to do, how do I do it? And he was like, just like send me your demo if you get one. And so I remember I put together a visual reel. Now, not a demo. And so I put together a visual reel of the different, like, oh no.
As yourself with an agent.
Yes.
Like
and so he was like, this is not a demo. And I'm like, well, do you have any recommendations for who to go to a demo? And he sent me like this long list. And I was like, I would like to be put on the wait list for your class. And he's like, okay, see. In 4 years. Any recommendations for teachers? In the means, he listed a couple people. He said Mick Winger, Debbie Derryberry, and those are both people that I went to immediately. Like I looked up their websites and information like on the spot, and I like booked it. And it was just, I just started exploring his website and like all the links that I possibly could. I read D. Bradley Baker's website.
The chat is taking notes, because this is exactly what someone, as soon as they decide like this is what I'm doing, like you went out the top people, and you're just like, and Dee Bradley's website is free. You can just see all the stuff, learn a ton, and decide what you want to do from there, right?
And it's just like, the second I realized what I wanted to do, it just went full steam ahead and just started doing as much research as I possibly could, and started like pretty much putting like all my money into workshops and classes. And books. And I was working overnight, like construction shifts essentially at Disneyland.
Shut the front door.
That was my job up until like very recently. Like I did blue collar work. Like I drove trucks and I worked with power tools and I installed like photo ops and just like all kinds of stuff.
You are more badass than I thought, Jenny. Like you've just got to a whole other level. Holy shit.
And then I was also working as a manager over at a pop-up in Santa Monica called Candytopia.
Oh my God.
And I was on the opening team for that, and I helped just like write out the standard operating practices and everything because I had experience in theme park management.
Oh my God.
And I believe at that time I was also doing gopher work for a production company.
When did you sleep?
Like in my car.
Oh my God, I believe that. I've definitely napped in my car in Los Angeles. Were you were taking classes for voice acting? And you know, if I stay up all night, I wake up and I talk like this, there's no way I'm gonna have a good voice. Like, how were you managing that? That's crazy.
Drinking a lot of tea, mostly the tea, lots of cough drops. At the time, I didn't know about Nimjam, but it would have been Nimjam. I know, Grother's Pastilles, Bob told us about those in the workshop that I took. And so
holy cow.
After that workshop, I bought them in bulk on Amazon, and I was using them for my tours because we had to do 4-hour tours, and it would be just nonstop talking for over an hour. And we'd have to improv and riff and everything. So by the end of the day, my throat was so sore and tired. So I would be popping Grother's Pastilles in between my tours, and that would help a lot. So Grother's Pastilles and warming up and lots of water and tea.
This is crazy because I think that a lot of people just assume that I woke up one day and I was sombra, or I woke up one day and this was anybody or Bob Bergen, but Bob also had to work his way up, and we've all had a ton of weird jobs. I used to dance in New York City. It was a company that would throw a bunch of bar mitzvahs, and I'd be one of the chicks who would help the kids dance. What do they call the party?
Like a host or
not a host, but you get all the kids involved in the dancing.
Yeah.
A entertainer for kids, and that's just one of the, I had 15 random ass jobs in New York. So,
I have.
all of this stuff is so interesting because it's you're multitasking on so many levels. What do you think was the first voiceover job that you booked that was holy cow, or how did you get to Abrams? What was it that clicked at one point and you're because we're still, I think that it's not back in the day we're oh, she broke out into the industry and now bam. I think there's little stepping stones, that get us closer.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think there definitely are it's always perceived, it's oh, she just burst onto the scene. It's but it's never really that case. It's always a bunch of little steps that nobody sees beforehand.
Yeah.
And then they see the payoff. I did want to kind of touch on some other weird jobs that I had real quick.
Oh, let's do it. Absolutely.
So
I'm so down.
For about 2 years, I also worked as a pyrotechnician.
Where?
At the Hollywood Bowl, at Dodger Stadium, at Cerritos Fairgrounds, all over the place.
Cow.
I think at the Rose Bowl one time. I can't remember.
Dude, you're the most eclectic so far because my friends stay in the lanes waitressing at 7 different restaurants or prepping kids for their SATs, very intellectual stuff. You're all over the place.
Yeah. And then another job that I had was I was a kids party performer, but I was a bubble performer.
Oh my God.
And so, I was a bubble performer. So I had to travel around in my car with a kiddie pool and 5 gallons of bubble solution and a duffel bag of giant bubble wands and things like that. And I would just do that at parties. And then I also played Frosty the Snowman at the Grove. I was a character host at the Americana.
One of the crazy things that people watching right now who don't live in LA don't realize that you have worked at all the quintessential, very Los Angeles places. The Grove is it's a shopping mall essentially, but it has some really cool outdoor stuff. Hollywood Bowl, Dodger Stadium, those are all huge things that are very. So you're a Californian. You're an Angelino.
I think I've become an Angelino. I was raised in Las Vegas, but I definitely have. I think I've gotten my Angelino legs.
Wow.
I think I've earned my stripes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Listen, we can turn this whole chat about odd jobs that Jenny has had because I think that they're rad. Feel free to throw any more this way that you find particularly unique.
Let me see. I was a supervisor at Halloween Horror Nights.
Dude. Yeah, this is amazing. You need to write some memoirs and get this down on paper because it's kind of incredible.
It was wild and this is I think I did all of those things before I was 22. I was because so on a more somber note, somber with sombra.
I love it.
I had to drop out of school because my dad passed away. He had Alzheimer's, and so he passed away when I was 18, like right as soon as I moved away from home. And after that, like, because he was getting Social Security, and so after that, like, we just didn't have any money to continue with school. And then not only that, but then also they kind of pushed me out of school a little bit because I had to miss a week for my father's funeral.
Oh my God.
And they held that against me, and they said that I was not emotionally caught up to the other kids because I missed a week. And so they essentially like pushed me out of school. And so I was at like a really low, and I didn't know where to go. They were kicking me out of dorms. I had to like move in with this elderly couple that I found on Craigslist. And I was just sort of like, okay, I'm just going to work as much as I possibly can.
Oh my God.
So I would take any work that I possibly could get. And so I was always looking for work.
Wow. I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry your father passed. That's horrible. Second of all, I can't believe this university treated you like that. But like, you are such a badass, you know, coming through that, and here you are doing what you're doing. Like, that's props to you, man. That's incredible.
Thank you.
And you know, I'd like to believe that your dad has had a hand in, you know, guiding you and being with you and knowing along the way that you're succeeding and doing what makes you truly happy, because that takes a lot. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
I think he'd be proud of me.
Oh, he is proud. He knows. He's watching. He's like, oh, I totally had a hand in The Simpsons. You know, like I think these things because it makes life more interesting if I go, oh no, my grandma totally helped me do that. You know, holy cow! So you've basically done it. You're like Forrest Gump. Who's just you watch all the levels of what can happen in one lifetime, and you're still only 25.
24.
Oh my God. Holy cow. Okay, so you said that you'd done this all before you were 21 or 22. In the last just 2 years, you have made insane strides.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Well, fortunate, but like hardworking. So tell me, you know, we met at a voiceover event. How did you know these guys from Dos Manos, who Johnny Cruz is on? Like, how did you end up there? Because we connected there. I can't remember if at that point you were with A3 or if you were about to sign with them.
Yeah, I had just signed with A3.
Yeah, I remember. That's where I was. I was like, oh my God, congrats. That's a big deal, you know?
So the way that I actually got to that industry party, it's so bizarre because the way that I got there was literally just, I had a LinkedIn ever since I was like 18 or something, because my college application advisor was like, you should get a LinkedIn. And I was like, okay.
That's smart. Yeah.
And so I've had a LinkedIn since I was like really young. And then one day I was just like, I remember I was on my my now ex-boyfriend's couch at the time, just like surfing the web. I'm like, oh, I should check my LinkedIn. And I saw that someone added me on there. And it was Rob Pareda. And I was just sort of like, I saw his job description. He's like at the time he was like VP at Viz Media. And I was like, what? Who? Like, why is this? Yeah, I'm like, why is this like executive guy like adding me on LinkedIn randomly? What's going on? And this was like just as I was getting into voiceover too. Yeah. And so I accepted his request and I messaged him and I was like, hi, I'm really happy to make the connection with you over LinkedIn. Can I ask why you added me? And he's like, oh, well, I saw that you went to Cal Arts, and a lot of people who went to Cal Arts like have really impressive like resumes and good skill sets. So I wanted to like add you because we do have some people from Cal Arts working at Viz. So I thought you might be a good connection to make. And I was like, okay. And I was like, he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a voice actor. And he was like, okay, cool. And he's like, what have you been in? I'm like, oh, I haven't been in anything yet, but I'm currently training with like Debbie Derryberry and such and such. And he's like, oh, I've met Debbie. I moderated a panel back when I was like, before I like was anyone with her. And she's really nice. Like, yeah, keep studying with her. Like, she'll like teach you well. And I was like, yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, when he came to LA next, because he was up in the Bay Area at the time, I believe, he threw one of his industry parties and he invited me to it kind of as be like, here you go, kid. And I'm like,
let me throw you a ball.
Thanks, mister.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went there and I guess I did embarrass myself. And so he kept inviting me to them.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And it was very cool and like very intimidating every time because it would always be like, oh yeah, like I'm the lead writer of like this show on Cartoon Network. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I work at Disneyland.
but whatever. Everyone's had a beginning, you know. So I don't think that it's something to look down upon. So have you worked with Rob yet?
I think in a roundabout way I have, because he's over at Netflix now, and I've been in a few anime projects that have ended up on Netflix, so I think so.
Yeah.
I'd love to work with Rob on like an actual project one day and like collaborate with him, because he's so damn creative and smart too.
Yeah. He's a sweetheart, which is really great. Yeah. So what was the first voiceover gig that you booked that you said, oh, cool? Because like my first voiceover gig was for McDonald's. It wasn't that exciting, you know. Like I think cartoons are just.
I think that's pretty exciting. The commercials,
I know.
Commercials are good.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the dream of like, I have a funny voice on a cartoon. You know what I mean? So tell me about your first experience.
The first professional job that I booked was one that I still can't talk about because it was a pilot thing.
Okay.
And it's like, it was one that I got to do a lot of like really funny voices for. So that was really a blast. I got to do like a Valley Girl voice, and I got to do like a really like nasty voice, like way up here, and I got to feel like a really big girl, and so that was like a blast. But the first one that like I ever booked that I was like, like the one that actually the one that actually probably gave me my start was. Actually, I'm trying to think now because I'm trying to remember which one came first. It was either XCOM or Fire Emblem Heroes.
Dude, Fire Emblem's a big deal.
Yeah, I think I booked XCOM first, which is crazy because it's like it was a really big game, and like it's XCOM, and I had like a big part in it, which I didn't know going into it. And I remember going into that session, it was the first thing I ever booked with A3. And I went through my session, and like we took up the entire like 4 hours and everything. And I was like, oh, so is this character kind of like big? I'm like, it seems like she has a lot of lines. And they're like, oh yeah, you're one of the leads. And I'm like, what? And so,
what's her character? What's this character's name?
Terminal.
Yes. As Teen Wolf is, you know, very excited about this.
Yeah, he's a great cheerleader for me.
Oh, sweet. You know him?
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
He's a mod for my Discord.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Okay, welcome SD Teen Wolf. And he's saying so sorry about your father, Jenny. I also a shout out for streaming the HFC charity on behalf of your father. That's rad.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I think XCOM was the first really big one where I was like, oh, that's a big role. This is a lot of responsibility. And like I wasn't even in SAG at the time, and I got the SAG paperwork to Hartley me and make me SAG eligible, and it said like, you know, like principal under role, and I was like, but that didn't come out for like a year later, and so I couldn't tell anyone or anything like that. But I think that one was definitely like the first really big role that I booked. Because it was that pilot, and then it was XCOM, which is wild to say. And then it was Fire Emblem Heroes. That was the first role that I ever got to announce.
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
And so, when I booked Fire Emblem, I was like in my car, and like I was like just stopped at like a gas station real quick, checked my email, and like I saw that like they're like, oh yeah, you booked it. And I was like, and I felt like I was vibrating, and I like called my mom, and I like screamed to her over the phone, and I was sort of like something really exciting just happened. I can't tell you, but it was something really exciting just happened.
That's awesome.
And like I just kept like walking around all day, and like I had this like tiny little secret. I'm like,
hack the planet.
I'm in a Nintendo game. Like I'm in a Nintendo game. Like this is the best day of my life. I'm in a Nintendo game. Like that's.
And are you like at heart? Are you a gamer? Are you a nerd? Like what is it that you love?
Oh yeah, I'm a big nerd. Ever since I was like a kid, like I've been obsessed with video games and like nerd culture, and like I'm Japanese, so obviously like anime played a huge role in me growing up and everything. That's sort of how I like was able to connect with my culture, even though I was in like the middle of nowhere, Las Vegas, and it wasn't really like, you know, a lot of Japanese influence there, and so that was like the closest way that I could connect to my culture, which is weird because. Like it's weird to say that I like learned about being Japanese from anime, but I kind of had to because like my dad was the Japanese one, and so he wasn't really present at all. So that was like the only like resource that I really had.
Yeah. Do you speak Japanese?
A little bit, yeah. I speak enough to like get by, like when I go on trips there and things like that.
Did your parents speak to you in Japanese?
No,
Or to each other?
No, my dad was very firm on being like, no, she needs to speak English. She's going to be fluent in English.
Yeah.
And then, the only time I ever heard my dad speak Japanese was when he was on the phone, or like really early in my life when he would be on business calls before he got sick, or be talking to family on the phone, or when we were in Japan and he'd be like talking to my family and he'd be speaking Japanese. So I have that. I actually learned recently that this is a thing and it's not just like my imagination running wild with me, because my whole life I was like, yeah, I understand Japanese. I can't speak it super well, but I understand. Like when I hear my family talking, I know what they're saying. Yeah. And I was like so relieved recently to find out that that's like a pretty common thing with children of immigrants.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Because it's like if my family is talking to each other, I'm just sort of like, okay, yeah, I get the gist of what they're saying. And they're like, oh, can you tell them this? And I'm like, couldn't tell you. No.
Yeah, right. Totally. No, I get that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I grew up with anime, and so I've always been a massive geek, just always obsessed with anime and video games and superheroes, just all of it. And so Nintendo most of all. And so booking a Nintendo job was like everything to me.
That's so rad. Okay, and so then when did the other roles come along? Like Hello Kitty, like you've done a ton of episodes for them.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, like that's a cool job. That when it keeps on giving, you're like, oh, I'm in every episode. That's super cool,
Yeah, I love working on Hello Kitty. It's a blast, and that was another one where when I booked it, I was just sort of like, I don't think I even like felt anything when I saw that booking email, because I was just in such utter shock. I was just sort of like, oh, I booked it. Okay. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, oh my God, I booked it.
What does Kuromi sound like?
Let me see. Okay. I'm trying to think of a line to say for her.
Happy birthday, but more importantly, happy Halloween!
So cute.
I love Kuromi. She's one of my favorite characters I get to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what of all the characters you've done, like, if I can geek out and also listen to some of the characters, I'd love, like, what Jade Hunter sounds like, or Ainsley, like, I'm definitely interested in, and we have to talk more about Rainbow High, but, like, if you want to give us a taste of some of your favorite characters, that would be super cool.
Sure, yeah. So
Girly Talk's, like, up here. She's very much about, like, Halloween and things like that.
Let's see. Jade is down here, and she's like way cooler than, like, she just doesn't really want to like appear like she cares about anything really, which is complete opposite, because in the same show, Ainsley is like,
Ainsley's up here, and she's like very much like about perfection, and she's a prefect, and she takes that role very seriously.
Would you say you do a lot of high-pitched characters? Or lower pitched?
Lower pitched characters, actually, I think is more common for me. Okay. Yeah, which is weird, because I really, really love my higher register, and I love playing in that area. But the roles that I end up kind of like getting cast in the most is kind of like the cool like tomboys, the cool like casual tomboy characters. Oh, like Terminal lived in my lower register, so she's like just a little bit lower than me though. Like she's like, what's up? I'm Terminal. Like, oh yeah, I ate your leftovers. They're in my stomach. Like, cool. So it's just like a little bit lower and a little bit more texture than my normal voice. Dashi on the Octonauts. She's just, I love my sessions for Dashi because she's just my voice, but very like uniform, I would say, is like her way of speaking. So Dashi is like pretty much just this voice, but she always wants to like do science and complete tasks and help her friends out. And so it's just like a little bit more like uplifted and a little bit more regimented, a little bit more like segmented. Since a little more type A. Since children's television.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Rats. I think for all of us, it's a dream to be able to work on something that we loved as a kid or that we even, love as adults, And
then it was very similar when I booked The Simpsons. That was probably the biggest. It didn't make sense. I had to reread and just to make sure that I didn't this role in The Simpsons, and I was thinking, I read for it, and I thought it might be like as I was reading the email, it's like, no, you're recurring. Started violently shaking and just
oh my gosh. And, I love that one of the comments is, Mom, I'm married to comic book guy.
Truly a dream come true.
Yeah. Hey, well, that's the thing. It's so hard to get jobs on these shows that we love. So even if you were I keep joking that I want to audition for Encanto, the new Disney movie that's based in Colombia. Music written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And, I am a Colombian voice actor. I was born and raised in Colombia. So, I'm just dying to do that. I'm like, I will audition for Singing Rock #7.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't care. I'll be a stick. It doesn't matter.
That's how I was with I would have been thrilled to voice a tree on The Simpsons, and then now I'm married to a comic book guy, and it's
absolutely
nuts. And then same thing with Pokemon. It's my entire thing is voiceover. It's I'd be happy to voice bystander #2, who's just sort of look, it's Pikachu. But then when I got I was a featured character, and I have I'm the featured character of an entire episode. I was
yeah, that's incredible.
And so that was but I absolutely sympathize where it's there's just certain productions where you're just sort of I'll voice anyone. Who do you want me to voice? That tree? That's fine. A blade of grass? Sure.
But this is cool because you have a character who has a name, and she's not just the lady who walks in to buy a cup of coffee. She can recur because she's related, married to.
Oh yeah, she has a full backstory. She's amazing.
Yeah. So you've done 2 episodes so far, right?
Yes.
And hopefully more on the way.
Yeah. That would be great.
How cool. So tell me about Rainbow High, because you were super psyched to share that because you've been sitting on it for a while, and then you also have gotten to direct that. The images are beautiful. It seems like a really cool concept. Tell me more.
Rainbow High feels like my baby.
Yeah.
Because I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that. So So I direct Rainbow High, I cast Rainbow High, I play 2 characters on Rainbow High. I was doing the production coordination for Rainbow High for a really long time too, where I was
you should be an executive producer at this point.
One day.
Yes.
Yeah. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears in that production, and I love it so much. Yeah.
Who are they? What's the company that makes this, and how did you get involved in the first place?
MGA. MGA is the company that makes it. They are the company that makes the LOL surprise doll and the OMG surprise and there's like a million. They made Bratz back in the day.
Oh my God, Bratz.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's like really big toy company. And I fell into it because this was at the very start of the pandemic. So actually the sound engineer for the first thing I ever booked, the pilot that I can't talk about, he has his own studio up in like the Hollywood Hills. And so we all went in there and we did a group record because that's when group records were still a thing that we're allowed to do. And we just got along really well and everything. And then, so he hadn't really done a lot of voiceover before. He mostly makes music. His name is Gigi Moroni. He's brilliant. He's an Italian. Yeah.
I've recorded with him.
I love him. Yeah, he's lovely. Yeah. And so he called me one day and he was like, hey, Jenny, so this company just reached out to me. They want to do a voiceover thing. And I really want you to be one of the voices because you did so well with Tori. It's probably not going to be great pay, but I'm wondering if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Like I could always go for a little bit more towards rent.
Yeah.
And this was at the point where like, I'm just going to be very, very candid here. So I am currently living with my mom because I got let go from Disneyland.
Oh my gosh.
And sorry. Yeah.
The pandemic's hit us in all crazy ways.
And so this was like at the beginning of the pandemic where like I just lost my job and I had to like move back in with my mom. And I was like, yeah, money, that sounds fabulous. Yeah, sure. Money, please. I would love that.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, great. I'll like find out more details. I think it's going to be pretty big. I'll let you know later. And then like another month goes by and he's like, okay, here are the like sides and everything. And the sides were literally like one line each. And so I read for them and they were like, okay, he's like, okay, actresses who could fill out the parts, and he was like, I could help you with that.
You're like, I have friends.
That's how I accidentally became sides. I like formatted them. I sent them out. I made like different Facebook forums and things like that. And I got like auditions and I went through them and I picked selects and I sent them to the client. And then they were like, okay, perfect. Here's the people that we want. Here's our cast list. And I'm like, okay, great. And like, they decided to have me for Jade. I didn't cast myself as Jade. I didn't do that. I always feel kind of weird whenever I'm like the casting director for a project and I end up in it. I'm like, that wasn't my choice. That was them, I swear.
Yeah. Hey, I believe you.
But yeah, so they were like, okay, great. And the recording's going to start next week. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was on the phone with a friend at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be working on a project soon. I just finished casting it. So that's really exciting. And he's like, oh, who's directing it? I'm like,
I don't know.
Exactly. And he was just like, Jenny, are you directing it? And I was like, hold, please. And I like messaged Gigi and I was like, hey, who's the director for this? And he's like, you are. And I was like, oh, news to me.
Yeah, amazing.
And so I kind of freaked out a little bit and I emailed Stephanie Shea and I emailed Lisa Ortiz, who are both amazing like actresses and directors as well. And I was like, I just found out that I'm directing this. Like, I need as much advice as possible. And they were like, well, like, what's your background? And I'm like, well, I've been in theater since I was 8. They're like, you're going to be fine. Like, you know how to direct. You've been directed your entire life. Like, you're going to be okay. And my first session as director, I was like shaking like a leaf. I was so nervous. And then now I'm just it's exciting journey because I'm definitely I'm very comfortable with being a director now, and I'm definitely like found my style and like found my voice as a director. And yeah, I am so grateful for Rainbow High because
That's amazing.
yeah. So last year during the pandemic, I was like an actress who had just been like let go from her day job, moved back in with her mom, and then within like 2 months, I was suddenly a casting director and voice director on a series.
And once people realize it's so good, then they're gonna be like, let's hire her for other things, and that's it's a snowball effect.
That's the goal, because I realized I really love directing, so I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to direct some anime or some video games soon. Like that would be a real dream come true.
That is so cool.
Because,
so Rainbow High has how many episodes right now?
Oh,
You're funny.
I think we're on episode 12, but we also have these like sort of in between episodes called the Vi-Lives, where one of our characters, Violet, who is played by the amazing Kara Buckland, does these little like vlogs and like catch-up episodes essentially. So it's really more like 24. And so yeah, but yeah,
that's incredible. And it's just going to keep going, right? So
hopefully, yeah.
And who writes these?
The wonderful people over at MGA.
You mentioned that, yes, yeah.
Yes, they write the scripts, they get them over to me, and I look at them and I'm like, okay, cool. Who's in this episode? What do I gotta do? What's this episode about?
Holy cow! Wow, that's rad. Who would have thought? So, but are you in LA right now? Where does your mom live?
I'd rather not say, just for privacy's sake.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Also, I think there's 15 episodes, says SD Teen Wolf, because you're on it.
Are there? I don't think so. Not released. No, I'm like, no, this is my series. Let me double check.
It doesn't matter. I just think that it's rad that like SD Teen Wolf is very on top of things and excited for possibly future episodes.
Yeah.
Jeff Burns is in the house. Yes.
It is 24. We just, because episode 13 is getting released tomorrow, and so I know my baby. I know my series.
On it. Jeff B says, hi, hopefully you get to work with Tress at some point. Do we know who Tress is?
Tress McNeil. She was the original voice of Kumiko on The Simpsons. And then when The Simpsons decided to diversify their cast and cast appropriately, ethnicity, then I took over for Tress McNeil for Kumiko. And that still doesn't feel like a real sentence that I'm saying, because she's a legend and I am a Jenny.
But I'm sure she felt right about that replacement happening.
Yes, and I really respect the decisions from the actors from The Simpsons who stepped down and allowed actors of color to step in. I think that was really commendable.
Absolutely, yeah, especially because, times have been changing and it's time to really implement that change. So that's super rad. I was very happy when you announced that. I was like, hails to the
I could, oh man, the day that I announced that, I was terrified to say anything about The Simpsons. I wasn't sure what I was allowed to say or not, so I was just being completely quiet. And they were releasing like publicity clips where like my voice was in there, and it was next to Dan Castellaneta and like Hank Azaria. And like I was like hearing myself like. It's a very concise language, and American English, we tend to be a little bit more wordy and verbose, and it takes a little bit more like description to get what we're saying across, right? And like sound like natural and conversational English.
Yeah.
And so there's always a lot of like on the spot rewrites with dubbing, and it's always like I'll say this, and then they'll be like, oh, that doesn't fit the flaps. They're like, can you slow it down? And I'll like slow it down like a lot, and they're like, ah, shoot, they're like, hold on, we need to rewrite this, and they'd be like rewriting it on the spot, and I hear like keyboards clacking, and they're just sort of like, okay, how about this? And I'm like, okay, and then they're like, no, slow it down again, Jenny, and I'm like, okay.
But then it might sound really weird because it's slower than it's intended to be. It's dubbing is a whole other animal, man.
Dubbing is a beast, and like I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. But yeah, dub actors, it's a tough gig because and like that's kind of one of the reasons I want to direct it, where I'm kind of like, I want to try, I want to play, I want to see if I got what it takes.
I mean, I've done it and I haven't loved it. I'm on a show on Crunchyroll right now called Onyx Equinox, and they were dubbing it into a bunch of languages, but primarily Spanish, and so they have a Mexican dubbing team in Mexico doing it, and so they reached out to audition me. And so as I get online with these Mexican dudes, they're like, okay, so Onyx Equinox is a show about like, I'm like, oh no, I know, I've worked on the English version. Oh, cool. So, but I didn't book it. I didn't book to dub my own character because they are machines. They're like, okay, boop, 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 line. They might give you a second take, but literally you hear the line and then you just have to go record it and then move it on to the next. And I'm not a machine like that. So I was like, and they're like, okay, let's try it again. And they were being so patient with me. And I'm like, you know what? I actually don't want to book this. It doesn't sound fun to me. Let the pros do this because it's tough, man.
It's really tough. Yeah. I did another anime project that I can't necessarily talk about. My director was so patient with me because I am I'm a fast talker. Like I was on speech and debate in middle school and things like that. Like I speak at a very quick speed. And for anime, there's often times where you have to slow down immensely in order for the line to work and fit to flaps and everything. And he was so patient with me because he'd be like, slower, Jenny, slower.
And you're like, no.
Jenny, what's the rush? And I'm just sort of like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying really hard.
You just have to record and then they slow you down.
Exactly. And then now when I do dubbing, it's a lot better where I'm just sort of like, they're like, slow it down to a touch more. And so it takes like maybe like 2 or 3 takes now. But like doing that first movie, I'm so grateful for the director for being so patient with me. Because it was a lot like, no, Jenny, no, what are you, stop.
That's incredible.
He's like,
but you did it.
I did it, and I'm excited to announce it when it finally comes out because it's a fun one.
So where can people follow you so that when you do announce these things, they find out about them?
So my Twitter is just my name. So it's at Jenny Yokobori, all one word, no spaces or anything. My Instagram is the same. My TikTok is the same. Let me see. On Twitch, I am Jenny Yokobori VO, all one word, no spaces. But more importantly, I would love for people to one thing I want to shout out is to please donate to any Asian and Pacific Islander charities that are going on right now. Like that is very important. And so, yeah, like on my Twitter, I have a thread where a lot of Asian artists and small business owners posted links to their shops. And so, yeah, if anyone feels like supporting that, please go check out my Twitter and buy some stuff from some amazing Asian artists. Because yeah, it's tough right now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Just to answer one question for Kimonar08, I'm not reading words right now. I was interviewing a lot of Valorant voice actors. Some of the ones that haven't joined are busy and they won't join for a while. And the new actors I haven't been able to get in touch with. So it's not that I don't want to, it's just, it's a little bit trickier. There is a link for Jenny's Discord. So SD Teen Wolf is going to share it with Maisie Grove so she can put it in the chat. So definitely join the Discord if you guys are down. Absolutely. And the other thing I was going to say, any parting words, any words of advice that you give aspiring voice actors? We all kind of have our little, like, I always send people to Dee Bradley's site. But what, you've been through thick and thin, girl. So, what got you through that?
I would say work as hard as you can, but not to the point, but never sacrifice your own health for it. Because I've done that in the past, not with voice acting, but in my other like different odd jobs where I was just working as hard as I possibly could, and I would be like breaking and being like sick and tired, and I would still push myself past that point. And you don't need to do that. Listen to your body, work as hard as you possibly can, but take a break when you need it, because it's very important. And if you like, it's that old saying, it's like, if you don't choose a day to take off, then your body's going to choose it for you. So work really, really hard. Be kind to others, but listen to your body, I think is my words.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for that. We always focus on get this kind of microphone, do this kind of class, but there's also like listen to your body and your instrument, because it's the only thing that's going to keep you standing.
Exactly. And like if you do a voice, and this is just something that Bob Bergen taught me, this is like the first thing I learned in voiceover. Yeah. If you're doing a voice and afterwards you go to drink a sip of water and it like your throat is like burning on the way down with the water, then that means you're straining your voice, and you need to not do that, because that's going to ruin your instrument and it's going to shorten your career. Yeah. There are other ways to do that voice, most likely, that are safer and better for like longevity. And so take care of yourself, listen to your body, don't push yourself over the edge.
Absolutely. And just in life in general, for anything, regardless of your job, listen to your body. So before we hang up, Jenny, I usually shout out people who've subscribed. There's a few today, and I've been doing a fun thing where I'll shout somebody out, and if you feel like doing a funny voice and thanking them for subscribing, I encourage you to. Okay. Okay. So Yomi Baka subscribed for 1 month. That's year 1.
I'm just gonna. It says Baka, so I'm gonna do an anime girl voice. Yeah. Was it Romi Baka? Yomi Baka. Hi, arigatou gozaimashita. Arigatou gozaimashita. Yomi Baka. Yes. My brain is gone, but yeah, like arigatou gozaimashita, Yomi Baka-san.
Oh, good. And we can throw one. Jeff Burns is in the chat, and I think you know him. So his sub expired, but we can still thank him. So thank you, Jeff Burns. Why don't you say something in some funny voice?
Thanks, Jeff. That was really cool of you. So nice of you. That was real cool, Jeff.
Super. Send your busy man cheer to 100 bits.
Oh, gee whiz, thanks for the bits, man.
Diva Waifu gets a sombra voice line. Here I am. If you want to try that, I would be down.
Oh boy. Can I try a different one?
Yes, do it. Boop. Okay, awesome. Let me see. Diva Waifu also gets a boop. Boop. So you beat me on that. NSM0220 cheered 1 bit. Thanks, 1 bit.
Thanks for the bit. That's really nice of you.
Maisie Grove gets a boom from Raze. Boom. That's one of my other characters in a game called Valorant. And SD Teen Wolf,
thank you.
1 month tier 1 sub to Jenny Yokobori.
Thank you.
Super nice. Thank you so much, man. That's awesome. Dude, you've got people rooting for you. That's awesome. Seems like SC Teen Wolf is a true cheerleader. So I commend you. Thank you. He's my Maisie Grove, also known as Danny, who you met earlier today. Oh wait, and we also get Red Bean Porridge. Cheer 10 bits. Woo!
Oh, that's my friend Johan. Johan. I'm going to shout him out because he's an absolutely incredible artist. Red Bean Porridge is his @ on Twitter as well. His art is stunning. I have commissioned him several times for
cool.
presents for friends and everything, and every single time it's always like breathtaking. He's a
on
genius.
Twitter?
Yeah, Red Bean Porridge.
Awesome.
Hi, Johan.
Check you out. Thank you, Johan. Amazing. Oh my God, you guys are all rad. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for new guests coming next week. Jenny, if you need anything, I'm here and available on Facebook, not on Instagram. Now I learned my lesson. Guys, I kept messaging her on Instagram, but she doesn't check that as much. So the Facebook had to happen.
Yes.
So I'm glad we got you here today, because for a second I'm like, there's a message on Facebook. So it all worked out. Anyway, guys, thank you, Jenny, for spending time with us. I know it's been a long day for you because you were prior. So go get some rest. Peace out, baby cakes, and keep booming and booping.
Peace out. Bye, everyone.